Hi everyone, thanks for joining me again. Today I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite foods for breakfast, crumpets. A friend of mine from Britain introduced me to these a few years ago, and now they're one of my favorite things. Super easy to make. You might have had store-bought ones before, but if you've never had them fresh, it's not the same, and you should really try it sometime. If you can make pancakes, you can pretty much make these. So let's get started. So first thing I want to do is go over our ingredients. I've measured out 3.5 cups of just all-purpose flour here, a cup of milk. This is soy milk, and I've got some butter here. We're going to use about 2 tablespoons of butter and a little more for frying. And this is a vegan butter too. I'm going to make this whole thing vegan. That's how I usually make them. And baking powder, salt. This is some dry yeast. That's how I usually make it. Today I'm going to try something new I haven't tried before, but I think it'll be really good. I just got some new sourdough starter from a friend, and I have a little bit left after feeding what they gave me, so I'm going to just throw this in there, some extra yeast and leavener. I think it'll just be that much better. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of scald the milk and melt the butter into it. You don't really want to boil it. Get it up to where it just almost starts to simmer. So we'll just kind of let the butter melt into the milk and then let the milk kind of come to a slight simmer. All right, that's just barely starting to bubble. That's pretty much what I want. So I'm going to pull this off. We're going to proof our yeast in this, but we want it to get cooled down, otherwise it might kill the yeast off. I've got an instant read thermometer here that I can use to check the temperature with, just to kind of see where it's at. And yeah, it's up around 180 now, so I'm going to let this sit for a little while and cool down. So as the milk cools down a little, I'm going to add a little bit of salt into the flour here, like half a teaspoon. My milk butter mixture is cooled down to just under 110 now. That's just about right for mixing with the yeast. I'm going to dissolve a couple of teaspoons of sugar into this. That's going to help proof the yeast, get it reactivated. So usually I would put about a teaspoon and 2 teaspoons of yeast into that warm milk. But since I've got this sourdough starter I'm going to put about a teaspoon of dried yeast into this just to kind of supplement it. I think this hasn't been fed in a while. I'm not sure how active it is. Then I'm going to take my warm milk that I've now sweetened up a little bit. And I'm going to just pour that into the sourdough mixture. I'd want to dilute this a little anyways to wash it out. And then I think with the sugar water, this ought to activate pretty quick. And we'll see this bowl start to froth up. Yeah, this is nice and bubbly now. I'm going to stir that down a little bit. All right, now that we've got our yeast mixture proofed, we're going to mix that into our dry ingredients into the stand mixer here. You can do this by hand, but you want to kind of whip it for a couple of minutes, and it makes it a lot quicker doing it with this. So it's about a cup of liquid there with the milk mixture. You want to use about a cup to a cup and a half of water to thin it out until it's kind of like a batter more. So I'm just going to slowly add water to it as it mixes. And it's kind of just a judgment by consistency. When it takes up to a couple of cups, as it starts to thin out, just add like a little bit more water to it at a time. Let it mix in and see kind of the consistency you're at. That's getting pretty close now. Add a little bit more water. It's a little too thick still. And that's just about right now. So that was just about 1.5 cups of water. I've had it take from 1 1/4 up to all the way to 2 before. You want to let the mixer kind of keep whipping it for maybe a minute or two. So yeah, this is pretty much all mixed up now. That looks pretty good. Because this is yeast, you kind of want to let it rise and develop bubbles and stuff. So we're going to let this rest for about 45 minutes or an hour or so. All right, so we're back. It's been maybe 45 minutes or so since we finished mixing up our batter. It's gotten a little bit bubbly, a little lighter and fluffier. So first thing we're going to do is mix in 2 tablespoons of baking powder, or 2 teaspoons, sorry. So mix this into the batter here. And you want to be kind of gentle with this. You don't want to beat out all the air that's kind of worked into it, but you do want to mix it thoroughly to get the baking powder. So kind of do this folding motion, almost like you do with like egg whites or something. All right, so this will sit for a minute while we heat up our pan. I've got a cast iron griddle here. You can use pretty much any griddle you've got. So like I was saying, the thing with crumpets is to get the nice circular shape, you need some type of ring. I'm going to use these. A lot of people use like a metal baking ring, or they'll just take a can and cut the bottom off it. So yeah, the grill is getting hot now. I'm going to melt some butter on it. There's that vegan butter again. Now you want to keep a close eye on your temperature. Yeah, like I was saying, to get that bubbly surface, you've got to let them cook through on one side, but that means that you got to be careful about burning that side because it's going to be on that one side for longer. So you cook them a lot like you would pancakes, but you don't want to cook it as high of a temperature as you cook pancakes at. So it doesn't take a whole lot of batter in each. It's got a 1/4 cup scoop. It can be overflowing a little bit, but they're not too thick, so they puff up a little as they cook. If they come up about halfway up the ring to start, that'll be just about right when they're done. And this will make a big batch. It should make good 15 to 20, I think, depending on how thick you make them. We'll see when we're done. But they keep pretty good for like up to a week or so, and they're great in a toaster the next day for a couple of days after. So I'll just be eating these all week for breakfast probably. I like to test them a little just to make sure they're not sticking too much. These seem to be fine. And you can already see how much they're puffing up as they cook. They're almost to the top of the rings now. They'll be about as thick as the rings by the time they're done. Yeah, there we go. That one's looking just about right now. You can start to see the top looking a little bit more solidified and the bubbles are kind of in place. And we'll do this one. And then they only take about a minute on the second side because they're already almost cooked. Yeah, my pan's a little too hot. It's getting a little dark on that side, but we'll turn it down just slightly for the next batch and they'll be good. I think that one should be about right. Yep. This one's a little bit thicker, but yeah, I'm going to flip that one now so it doesn't burn. Yeah, I think that's just about right. Yeah, there's one that's thicker again. I'm going to let that go a little bit longer, but these I think are just about right. Oh yeah, that's perfect. The hardest thing about these is there's not even 20 of them in an afternoon. There we go. Yeah, the last couple of seconds you can just kind of watch it change. Yeah, you see all the nice holes in that one? That's going to be so good. Oh yeah. That's the best one yet. You see all the giant holes in that one. That's going to soak up half a stick of butter. All right, so for the last two I'm going to do, I'm going to make them without the rings just so you can kind of see how they turn out that way. And this one's all right. That one was a little messy. Last little bits of scraping out of the bowl. If you did these with a scoop, you could still get them pretty round. Because they flatten out a little bit more, you can see all the extra bubbles you get. You got to be careful not to get them too thick when you're using the rings, but with these, they just kind of spread out to the right thickness no matter what. So I'll come back over here and give you a look at my giant plate of crumpets. I think we made about 24 in the end, so if you count these two odd-shaped ones. So yeah, we got a nice haul. Yeah, I'll try and not eat all of these at once. Join me next time.